I'm going to talk about design in Kenya, and probably some reflections that have come from my interactions over the few years that I've been involved in design in Kenya. Yeah, because I'm not the keynote speaker, I'm just looking at a few growth enablers in Kenya, and probably it's a reflection for the other African countries. I'm not sure I've had a comparative study, but it's maybe you can reflect on some of these things, especially from my colleagues from Africa. I'm looking at our government system, which is the devolved government right now, global trends, training and education, development in sister disciplines, and the government policy. So the devolved system in government, of government in Kenya, which was promulgated in 2010, and it's 2013, and it's just, the new constitution was promulgated in 2010, and it's in 2013 that the new president has come in with this new government system, which has created 47 counties, which I think is the system in South Africa with different provinces and so forth. So now we have 47 counties, some of them pretty small, some of them big, but all of them require identities separate from the central government, and they require administrative structures, and they need to increase their revenue stream so that they can develop. This devolved system is supposed to bring development to the grassroots, to the remotest parts of Kenya, which were being ignored over time because of the centralization of the whole system. And what does this mean for design? It means that the new counties, the 47 counties, need regional products and services. They need creation of regional processes and how to relate with each other. They need to engage local talents. About 60% of our population is in the youth category, and we've realized we need to harness their potential. And then there's the utilization of local design materials, the enhancement of regional communications, and all of them are scrambling to get branding, corporate identity. We have had cultural fairs, we have had beauty contests at the local level. All these require some level of planning and design. And then we also have ensuring a sustainable environments in the regions. So now they're taking ownership of the environmental resources, and they need to exploit them without depleting them. Okay, that might not be too clear, but until 2013, it is the Ministry of Public Works in Kenya, which was the focal point for designers entering into the government system. So everybody who was employed in the government system had to pass through the Ministry of Public Works. They are the only direct consumers of design, which means that what was happening with the other ministries, although they were employing designers, they were coming under different titles. Some were cooperative officers, some were senior project managers. They still are. Some were, so they didn't have the definition or the title of a designer even within their different ministries. They still exist, environmental officers. They come under various titles, so you cannot quite capture them. And within this one Ministry of Public Works, they employed, and they still are employing, 13 designers. And they're saying that with the devolved system of government, they have created positions for 128 designers. So that's going to mean like about 10 times more designers within that one ministry in the centralized government before we reach the other counties, the 47 counties. So that's one area in the government system, which is, we're really focusing on that because we realize that without government clear identification of the designers, the private sector continues to exploit the few designers that are there. So if we can get the government to understand who and why the designer should exist, then the private sector it will be easier to deal with the private sector. Global expos and trade fairs are also enabling design growth in Kenya in terms of world expos, fairs, and export. So export opportunities, when we go for the world expos, they're asking, what is it that you're bringing from Kenya? So Kenya, we are forced to ask what we have to bring on the global market. It's always been tourism, and then we are told, but even South Africa has got tourism, even Namibia has got tourism. So even within that tourism, we're trying to find a niche that we can exploit for Kenya, as Kenyans. So they're forced to look into design to try to identify, even if it is the same, we need to package it differently. And this made in Kenya now comes up. Yesterday we were at Mugs and Bean and we were saying, fantastic Kenya coffee brewed too. Earlier this year I was in the US and I was having Starbucks coffee. This coffee has been hand-picked in Thika, which is a region in Kenya. And I'm thinking, okay, how come I didn't know that? And then we have local raw materials, which we are also seeing if we can exploit. We have Kisii soapstone, which is an export product in itself, but we are trying to see how to package it within environmental concerns as well, because the harvesting of the stone obviously depletes the environment. And the packaging of all these products so that we can have them presentable and add value to them for the consumers. What's happening in design education and training? That's my home. From 1960s, we inherited a craft and art education, and then came in 844 system of education. And with the 844 system, they said design is not a science, design is an extracurricular activity. So go to class and learn mathematics, and then when you have time in the afternoon, you can go and do art and craft and design. And they actually removed it from the Kenya National Examinations. So with its removal, the parents were a little shy to let their children pursue art and design. But luckily for us, in the year 2000, 2002, the government has returned art and design into the curriculum, and it's examinable. So that becomes an enabler for the growth of art and design, and by extension, the profession. The only problem, of course, is a bit of capacity building and awareness creation, because many parents and stakeholders are not aware that it has come back as an examinable subject. There are more opportunities for degree courses. Up to about 10 years ago, the University of Nairobi was the only art and design offering university degrees. And then Kenyatta University came on board. But now we have over 39 universities registered in Kenya, and about 10 of them are offering design or design-related courses. So now there's that opportunity for that expansion. Not only that, the private universities are offering BTech, which I believe is from the UK, and they are also pursuing art and design education, especially in fashion and graphics. We have a lot happening in research and publishing. A lot of the students pursue, when I was writing this PowerPoint, I realized that a lot of students are now pursuing African aesthetics as their research focused themes. But there's also sustainability, which is also coming in quite aggressively. And I must say that that's because we were privileged to have Ezio with us in 2009, 2010, and explaining how to approach sustainability and how to apply it in what we are doing. So there's a lot of African aesthetics and sustainability research that is coming up. And publishing, so a lot of the work now is available on the internet and so forth. I just want to mention here, before I forget, that unfortunately from where I sit, we are not able to access a lot of researches that are done in the rest of the world and Africa itself. When you Google Scholar, for example, and you see this interesting article that you want, and then they want you to charge you $39 or something. Then you think, what's the process of paying for this $39 to be able to access this paper? So we are not able to access a lot of researches that are done, and the few that we are able to access are actually a bit obsolete. They go 5 years, 10 years back, and when you give it to the professor says, I want recent researches. Don't quote things that go 10 years back. So that's a little challenge that we are facing, but I'm sure we'll overcome that. Our sister disciplines, especially architecture, we fight a lot. We are in the same building at the University of Nairobi. For example, about 3 weeks ago, one of the top architects, he was bidding, and he had won the architectural work for a real estate development. And then in one of the meetings, he said, and I'm going to charge you 10% over this amount for interior design services. And the client said, what? I thought you're doing everything. He said, no. Interior design is specialist, so I'm going to charge you extra. He said, no. Now we are going to go back to tender. So it is creating, their development is creating our development. Maybe it's a spontaneous reaction, not designed like that. But so that's happening, and the government is also taking note of that. Public relations, the development of the public relations industry is impacting the development of design, maybe by default. Marketing as well, manufacturing as well, and the media, the other medias, and the other creative industries like the craft sector. The craft sector, which is recognized by the, can you find design there? The craft sector, which is recognized by the government because it has a direct, what do you say, with tourism. They are directly connected, the craft sector and tourism. So in looking at the craft sector, they realized that there are sister disciplines which also matter. And design was put somewhere there. We are trying to get it out of there. So what's happened? The government has come up with a bill, a draft professional design bill, 2013. It was first drafted in 2012. We gave our input, so they have a new draft, 2013. And the principal secretary, the minister told us that it's now up to the designers to push so that it goes into parliament, because there are very many bills which are waiting to be enacted into acts of parliament. So even I was talking to her and she said, well, push it, because I've got so many bills to push into parliament. So if the designers themselves can push this one, then maybe it can be given priority. What does the bill do for us? It gives definitions so that we can have a designer in the ministry with the title of this designer and so forth. It gives the policy, the training, gives awards and recognition for various design activities. We have institutions like Design Kenya Society, which I'm the chair, and the members are within you, so please, you can interact with them. So you put up your hands, you guys, so that you can be seen. So our focus as of now is to have more recognition and engagement with our government. is to have an industry structure so that when we say that the county need a designer, we are able to say where they can come in and within the structure, what job group and so forth as a professional. Institutional capacity building for all the stakeholders across the board, and more research and publishing coming from our side. Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana.